Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention. My name is Dave Anderson. I'm Vice President of Civic Programs for the McCormick Foundation. I want to welcome you and thank you for coming out today on one of our lovely fall days in Chicago. We have a full house, so if you can, move down in rows, tighten up a little bit. We have some people coming in right at the end here. We want to accommodate everyone. So we're very pleased to be partnering on today's program with the Chicago Cultural Center. Without their support, this program wouldn't have been possible, certainly not an audience of this size. So thank you very much to the Cultural Center folks. Today, we're not only excited to host Secretary Albright, but we're very excited about making an announcement to you, which some of you may have seen in your programs already and on the slide presentation we had running. The McCormick Freedom Museum has changed its name to better reflect our activities and commitments going forward, from Freedom Museum to Freedom Project. We believe that this name is a better representation of our ongoing important work on behalf of First Amendment rights, encouraging civic participation by our students and helping them prepare for their roles as citizens in the country going forward. Most important, however, this name reminds us that freedom is an unending project, and an ongoing commitment to define and defend it to define and defend freedom requires all of our effort. So please look for more exciting work on behalf of and by the Freedom Project going forward. So a few housekeeping notes before we begin the program. The never-ending plea to turn off or silence your cell phones will prevent you from being laughed at by 400 people when it rings inevitably. We also ask that you refrain from taking flash photography during the program. Please be aware that this program is being recorded every humanly way that we know how. We are taking an audio recording, video recording, and there is a photographer taking pictures right now. We will use this for our website. You can listen to the program again in the future. We did provide an evaluation guide or program for you. We ask you to fill that out and give us your feedback. We very much like to hear what you have to say. We were very pleased to present Dr. Albright with an honorary membership to the McCormick Freedom Project. If you would like to join her in joining the Freedom Project, you can visit our membership table, which is in the rotunda. Lastly, before I get to introduce the speakers, you can go to the rotunda to purchase a copy of Dr. Albright's book, Read My Pins, and then we can have it signed for you after the program. With that, I'd like to welcome Secretary Albright and Elizabeth Brackett to the stage. As is often the case, the people who least need the introductions have the most interesting introductions. So I will spend a little time with both of the presenters today. Dr. Albright, as many of you know, was the 64th Secretary of State for the United States and the first woman to hold that position. During her tenure, she was known for her strong commitment to democracy, arms control, human rights, and peace in the Middle East, Africa, and other regions of conflict. Currently, she serves as the chair of Albright Stonebridge Group. She's the chair and principal of Albright Capital Management. She also serves on numerous boards, serving as chair of the National Democratic Institute of International Affairs and as the co-chair of the United Nations Development Program's Commission on Legal Empowerment of the Poor. Since leaving office, Dr. Albright has published 4 books, including her most recent, Read My Pins, which is on the New York Times bestseller list. Today's moderator is a familiar face to the Freedom Project programs, is Elizabeth Brackett. Elizabeth is a longtime correspondent for PBS's The News Hour with Jim Lehrer and is also the news host for WTTW's flagship program, Chicago Tonight. Elizabeth currently published her first book, Pay to Play, How Rod Blagojevich Turned Political Corruption into a National Sideshow. A fantastic read, by the way. So please welcome two very special guests, Elizabeth Brackett and Secretary Madeleine Albright.
very much. I know we're both delighted to be here. I'm thrilled to get the opportunity to interview Madeleine Albright. And let me just begin.
Madam, can I, before you begin, I'd like to thank Ms. Anderson for the introduction, to tell everybody who I am, because sometimes people don't know. I was coming back from China, and actually Chicago was the first port of entry, and I was there getting undressed for the security people, and I put my stuff down on the conveyor belt ahead of me, and the lady ahead of me said, "So where'd you get all those screw-top bottles? My bottles all leak." And I said, "Well, I got them at the Container Store." And then I was going through the magnetometer, and the guard looked at me and he said, "Oh my God, it's you." And he said, "I'm from Bosnia. We all love you in Bosnia, and if it weren't for you, there wouldn't be a Bosnia, and you're always welcome in Bosnia. And can I have my picture taken with you?" So we stopped the whole line, and I have my picture taken, and I go back to get my stuff, and the lady of the screw-top bottle says, "So what exactly happened here?" And I said, "Well, you know, I used to be Secretary of State." And she said, "Of Bosnia?" So thank you for straightening.
Well, we know who you are in Chicago, that's for sure. And so to begin with a hard question, you know, President Obama has been engaged in a really very public consideration of what to do about Afghanistan and Pakistan. He's invited in the Congress, he's invited in his national security team, he's invited in his cabinet. What's your analysis of the way he's going about this decision, and a decision that really could define his presidency?
Well, thanks for asking me that, but you may regret it, because I actually teach, and this is one of the issues that I look at, the decision-making process. I wrote in my previous book, Memo to the President, that I wanted to have a book that explained what were the qualities of a president, and I wanted a president that was confident rather than certain. And I meant by confident somebody who was comfortable getting a variety of different views and comfortable with a public debate. So I think that this shows that President Obama is comfortable with that kind of an approach. Some of it, I think, also has to do as a counterbalance to the way decisions were made about Iraq, that we didn't quite understand what had happened, that there was some kind of a parallel decision-making process run out of Vice President Cheney's office. So I think that this is a way of getting a lot of different information. I would imagine that what he is doing is also asking very specifically for the different views so that he can give that kind of a balance. It's interesting to read the stories, which I have been reading, and obviously there are some conflicts in the way that people are looking at it. I think there was some issue as to how the report of the General McChrystal, came out. It was, according to what I read, leaked, and so that part of it might not have been something that had been wanted. But it is interesting because we are seeing the divergence of views, and I also think what is good is the public debate about it. I have been on the road now for 10 days or so with my book, and I'm fascinated that that is the question. People want to know what is going to be done on Afghanistan. It's a very serious decision, and I'm very glad we have a president who's taking the process so seriously as we are. We have troops there already, NATO has troops, and that it is something that is being considered very carefully, and that the president is not uncomfortable with a public debate about it.
You know, you were in meetings like that when you were the Secretary of State for President Clinton. What actually goes on in those meetings? I mean, do people argue? Do they define their turf or defend their turf, or what's the
Well,
style?
let me first, now I've been reading the papers, and they say these meetings are taking place in a secret room in the basement of the White House. Well, there is a room. It's called the Situation Room. It doesn't look like, by the way, the West Wing doesn't look the way it did on television. But basically, it is a room that allows for private conversation. They sweep it so there are no listening bugs and things like that. And the meetings take place in there all the time.